Weird things begin to happen when you go into deep space, into self. What if the universe isn't just something to study, but something that studies us back? This video is not a scientific breakdown of stars and space, it's a psychological mirror. A journey into the vastness, not to lose yourself, but to find yourself. In the silence between galaxies. In the crushing gravity of black holes, and in the final flicker of fading stars, we begin to ask. What does it mean to exist in a universe that feels indifferent to our presence? What happens to our sense of meaning when we realize we're not at the center of anything? Combining depth psychology, existential reflection, and cosmic metaphor, this film explores not just the physics of the universe, but the human need for meaning, love, and emotional grounding in an unstable world. If you've ever stared at the stars and felt both awe and fear, this is for you. If you've ever felt lost in your own mind, this is for you. Because somewhere between the infinite silence of space and the fragile beat of your heart, there is a truth waiting to be felt. Welcome to Awake Within, where the outer cosmos meets the inner soul. Don't just watch the universe, let it change how you see yourself. When you confront the vast fear of the universe is not only stranger than we imagine. It is stranger than we can imagine. This famous quote by biologist J.B.S. Haldane opens a door into a reality that exceeds human comprehension. All around us, stretching in every direction, lies an infinite void. This space is not only vast in the physical sense, but also opens up deep layers of mystery and unease. It is home to bizarre celestial bodies, inexplicable phenomena, and realities so extreme that trying to grasp them might fracture the human mind. For many, images of radiant galaxies and luminous nebulae serve as symbols of the universe's breathtaking beauty. But for those who allow themselves to look a bit longer, and a bit deeper, there comes an inevitable feeling, one that is far from comforting. A primitive, persistent fear. A fear of the immeasurable. A fear of the unknown, and even of the known. In that vastness, every planet, every star, every phenomenon is like a door opening into incomprehensible mystery. What makes the universe terrifying is not only what we have yet to discover, but also what we have already confirmed. We know that out there exist places so hostile that our worst nightmares would pale in comparison. We know that not only is existence fragile, but that the very foundation of reality can be bent and twisted by laws far beyond ordinary human reason. This fear of deep space even has a name. Astrophobia, the fear of celestial bodies and the cosmic void. It is not a vague unease, but a clear awareness of our smallness and vulnerability in the face of an overwhelmingly vast reality. And strangely, the more we seek to understand the universe, the more anxious we may become. With greater knowledge comes deeper awareness. And the fear does not diminish, it sharpens. Because the more we understand, the more we realize there are truths that lie beyond reason and language. To confront the vast fear of the universe is not an easy choice. But in that confrontation, another door opens, the door to awakening. To a deeper contact with the most profound levels of consciousness. For only when we become aware of our smallness and finitude can we truly begin to ask, who am I? And what does my place in this infinite realm truly mean? Alien worlds, when life is the exception, not the rule. In the innocent imagination of childhood, distant planets appear as glittering orbs, charming and suspended in the sky. But as we grow older and accumulate knowledge, we are faced with a colder truth: planets are not gentle celestial neighbors. They are ruthless engines. Where life is not just rare, it is almost impossible. Even within our own solar system, the closest place we can call a neighborhood, life as we know it exists only on Earth. The other planets, instead of welcoming life, present themselves as hostile, alien worlds beyond imagination. Take Jupiter, the colossal gas giant, over 11 times the diameter of Earth. If Earth were a grape, Jupiter would be a basketball. It has no solid surface for a human to stand on. Instead, it is a vast ocean of gas and superheated fluid, swirling with ferocious storms that scream through the atmosphere at hundreds of miles per hour. A journey into Jupiter, even with the most advanced theoretical technology, would be a descent into nature's relentless fury, where light fades the deeper you go, until you're crushed and dissolved into a sea of metallic liquid hydrogen far below. And that is just a glimpse of our cosmic backyard. As we look farther, things only get stranger. About 64.5 light-years away lies a planet called HD 189733b, a place that turns any notion of a second Earth into a cruel joke. From a distance, it appears breathtaking, with a mesmerizing turquoise hue like a floating sapphire in space. But up close, it is a nightmare. Surface temperatures exceed 2000 degrees Fahrenheit. Supersonic winds, 7 times the speed of sound, never cease their violence. And worst of all, it doesn't rain water, it rains molten glass, slicing across the surface in sideways storms that would shred anything unlucky enough to appear. Looking at such planets, one cannot help but shudder and realize life, the very thing we take for granted every day, is actually a fleeting miracle amidst a cosmos filled with uninhabitable wastelands. In a universe dominated by unthinkable infernos, the existence of a planet like Earth is not normal, it is rare. It is sacred. And in facing that truth, we are compelled to admit that our existence, with all its emotions, fears, and moments of love, is a gift so delicate it borders on the unbelievable. Destructive light, the truth about the great stars. Stars have long been symbols of beauty, hope, and the shimmering dreams of humanity. From lullabies to ancient songs, their light has always evoked a sense of comfort and eternity. Yet behind that warm glow lies a much harsher truth. Stars are not just sources of light. They are colossal engines of destruction, operating silently in the dark expanse of space. Let's consider a simple comparison. Jupiter, the largest planet in our solar system, is 11 times the diameter of Earth. But our Sun, the central star of our system, is 10 times wider than Jupiter. Still, the Sun is only considered an average star amid the vast cosmic ocean of stellar bodies. Out there exist stars like WOHG 64, a red supergiant of unimaginable scale. Its radius is over 1,540 times that of the Sun. If placed at the center of our solar system, it would engulf the orbits of Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, and even Jupiter. A star like that could hold millions, perhaps even billions, of Earths within its vast form. It is no longer merely a celestial body, but a kingdom of light and energy, seething at thousands of degrees. However, such grandeur is only the prelude to inevitable tragedy. When a massive star exhausts its fuel, the balance between outward radiation pressure and inward gravitational pull collapses. In a fraction of a second, it implodes upon itself, detonating as a supernova and flinging its outer layers into space. What remains may be even more terrifying: neutron stars, black holes, the final children of light and life. So, the brilliant lights in the sky are not merely symbols of life. They are quiet reminders of impermanence. The brighter the star, the more violent its end. The light we admire is, in a deeper sense, a forewarning of a silent catastrophe slowly approaching. We look to the sky in awe, admiring its beauty, unaware that we are witnessing magnificent machines of destruction and rebirth. And perhaps, it is in this simultaneous presence of beauty and decay that we come to grasp the tragic grandeur of the universe. Black holes, when time and space collapse. If giant stars are forges of light and energy, then black holes are the places where all light, all energy, and all notions of cosmic order come to an end. Black holes are not merely strange physical entities, they are symbols of the ultimate limits of knowledge and existence. When a star above a certain mass exhausts its fuel, its internal collapse doesn't stop at forming a neutron star. Instead, it continues compressing, forcing matter into an incredibly small and dense point known as a singularity. At that point, all familiar physical laws break down. Time, space, light. Even logic, the very foundations we rely on to understand the universe, become meaningless. Inside a black hole, gravity is so intense that nothing, not even light, can escape. Because light cannot escape, a black hole appears from the outside as a region of absolute darkness. An invisible void among countless radiant stars. But the true terror of black holes lies not in their appearance. It lies in the questions they pose, and in the universe's cold silence in response. What happens inside the singularity? Does time continue? Or does it stop? Does space still exist? Or is it warped beyond recognition? Can a place truly contain infinite mass within zero volume? We don't know the answers. And perhaps it is the very nature of black holes that makes such questions inherently unknowable. On a larger scale, black holes are not isolated devourers. There exist supermassive black holes, residing at the center of most galaxies, including our own Milky Way. One of the largest known, Ton 618, is several times the diameter of the solar system and is consuming matter equal to hundreds of billions of suns, glowing with the energy of hundreds of trillions of stars. The universe, which once seemed to offer boundless light, conceals within it doors into absolute darkness. And every black hole is a reminder that all brilliance, all life, and all knowledge ultimately face an inescapable limit. We don't look at black holes merely to understand them. We look at them to understand ourselves, to grasp finitude. To live with questions that may never be answered, and to accept that a part of being alive means confronting mysteries that will forever remain out of reach. Infinite void, the terror of silence. When we think of the terrifying aspects of the universe, we often picture dead planets, exploding stars, or black holes devouring light. But perhaps the most haunting fear is not any of those phenomena, it is the space between them. The intergalactic void, the space between galaxies, occupies most of the universe's volume. It is not a bustling realm, but a cold and silent desert stretching into infinity. A dark region where one could travel endlessly and find nothing familiar, only absence. Among these immense voids, one stands out. The Boötes Void, also known as the Great Nothing. With a diameter of approximately 330 million light-years, it is a region of space almost entirely empty, where the number of galaxies is shockingly sparse compared to any other known region. To comprehend its size, consider that compared to a supermassive black hole like Ton 618, this void is over 8 billion times larger. But numbers cannot convey the sensation this void evokes. Imagine a journey spanning hundreds of millions of light-years, during which you encounter no stars, no galaxies, no planets. Just absolute darkness, coldness, and silence, so profound that even your sense of existence seems to dissolve within it. It is the essence of total loneliness. No familiar anchors of reality. No light to guide. No sound to comfort. No life to accompany. Only emptiness, so absolute that even the absence becomes something real. Something frightening. Paradoxically, this sensation does not merely provoke fear, it awakens a strange tightening in the soul. A suffocating feeling that doesn't come from physical pressure, but from the realization that even existence itself can be submerged, forgotten, lost within this ocean of silence. What deepens this fear is the knowledge that the universe is not still. Voids like the Boötes Void are not shrinking. They are expanding. In accordance with the ongoing acceleration of the universe's expansion. We are not merely standing before a silent abyss. We are drifting, slowly but surely, toward absolute isolation, where even the memory of existence may one day fade into endless darkness. When the universe falls apart, the lonely journey of galaxies. If the infinite void represents the fear of isolation, Then the expansion of the universe is the slow, irreversible process of that isolation becoming reality. Everything in space, from the smallest particles to the grandest clusters of galaxies, is in motion. But that motion is not toward unity. It is pulling us farther and farther apart. At this very moment, Earth is not only spinning on its axis and orbiting the Sun. Our entire solar system, along with the Milky Way galaxy, is hurtling through space at over 1.3 million miles per hour. We are part of a small galaxy cluster called the local group, which itself is being swept along by the invisible currents of cosmic expansion. Over time, this process will not cease. Galaxies will not only drift away from one another, but the rate at which they do so is accelerating. One day, far in the future, galaxies will become so isolated that any civilization still in existence, if any, will look up at the sky and see only darkness. The luminous dots we marvel at today will vanish from view forever, pushed beyond the limits of observation. To intelligent beings living in that distant era, the universe will appear to consist solely of their own galaxy. No trace will remain of the others. No evidence of a once vast cosmos. Only a silent, enclosed realm, cut off and alone. That thought carries with it a quiet sadness. From where we stand today, the sweeping structure of the cosmos, the majestic architecture of galaxy clusters, will exist only in the memories of long-past civilizations, or worse, be forgotten entirely. Knowledge, light, the stories of the universe's origin, all will vanish, as if they never were. As the galaxies silently drift into darkness, we come to see that isolation is not just a personal experience. It is a cosmic destiny, etched into the very motion of the universe. The solitude of a human soul is but a small mirror of a greater solitude unfolding beyond. From this perspective, the journey of each galaxy, gliding through infinite stillness, is not merely a physical process. It is a metaphor for our own human journey, a search for meaning in an ever-expanding universe, where connections slowly fade, and where the only true light may be the one we kindle from within. The smallness of humanity amid the universe's voyage. In the boundless vastness of the cosmos, humanity, with all its civilizations, histories, and dreams, is nothing more than a tiny dot, nearly insignificant. And yet, from that small foothold, we have reached out toward the infinite, trying to understand it, and to leave behind a trace of our fragile existence. In 1977, NASA launched 2 space probes, Voyager 1 and Voyager 2. Initially, they were designed to study the giant planets of the solar system. But after completing their missions, they continued their journey, drifting out of the solar system and into interstellar space. Today, Voyager 1 is the farthest traveled human-made object from Earth. Aboard these spacecraft, scientists placed a part of humanity's spirit, 2 golden records containing images, sounds, music, and greetings in many languages. A simple yet profound message sent with the faint hope that somewhere in the vast universe, someone, or something, might one day stumble upon it and realize that a tiny civilization called humanity once existed. And yet, even with all our hope and yearning for connection poured into those records, the chances of them being found are close to zero. They are drifting through eternal darkness, carrying stories, songs, and laughter on a journey with no end. One day, when every trace of human life on Earth has vanished, when cities have crumbled, forests have reclaimed the land, and oceans have erased old memories, the Voyager spacecraft may still be out there, silently wandering. They may be the final witnesses to a fleeting moment in the universe's history when conscious life once existed. The Voyagers remind us of our profound smallness. But they also remind us that even in that smallness, we did not merely survive, we reached out, we explored. And we dared to project our longings beyond the boundaries of ourselves. In a universe ruled by silence, to raise a voice at all is already a triumph. Perhaps the most beautiful thing is not whether the message is ever heard. What matters is that it was sent. A gesture both humble and grand. A quiet declaration that in our brief moment of existence, we dared to dream of the unreachable. The final death of the universe, when even light fades. From the moment light first erupted in the Big Bang, the universe began a journey spanning billions of years, expanding, forming stars, planets, galaxies, and life. But like all things, the universe cannot escape the universal law of decline. Scientists believe the universe is headed toward heat death, a final state in which all usable energy is depleted. In this state, no new stars will be born. The old stars will burn out. Nuclear reactions will cease, and light, the only source of life in the endless dark, will gradually vanish. At first, the largest stars will die, exploding into violent supernovae, leaving behind cold black holes or neutron stars. Smaller stars, like our Sun, will fade into white dwarfs, slowly cooling and slipping into eternal darkness. Over time, even galaxies will disintegrate. Star systems will be torn apart by gravitational interactions, planets will drift aimlessly through the cold emptiness of intergalactic space. In that distant future, the final traces of life will vanish, leaving behind a barren universe with no energy left to sustain motion or life. Expansion will continue relentlessly. The distances between galaxies will become infinite. And matter will stretch so thin that even atoms can no longer bind together. The temperature of the universe will drop to nearly absolute zero, where no molecular vibrations remain, no heat, no light, no hope. Eventually, all that remains will be absolute darkness, eternal silence, a cold, infinite expanse where time flows on without events. The very thought is suffocating. To confront the final death of all that ever existed, not with momentary fear, but with the understanding that all light, sound, and dreams ever kindled will one day be swallowed by the last darkness. And yet, perhaps it is this transience, this fragility, that renders each moment we live, feel, and love so infinitely precious. In the vast, cold stream of the cosmos, to exist, even for a moment, is already a miracle that defies all reason. Awakening in the void, grateful for the miracle of being. Amid the cold vastness of the universe, among colossal voids and cosmic giants that dissolve every notion of stability, we, tiny humans, find ourselves here, on a precisely balanced planet, in just the right moment of time. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the universe's harshness, to fall into fear at the thought that all light will one day fade. But from this very understanding, a quiet awakening may arise. A profound realization that among countless possibilities, we were granted the chance to exist, to love, to hurt, to dream, and to shape meaning in our own lives. From this small perch on earth, you can look up at the night sky and witness stars whose light has traveled millions, even billions of years, just to meet your eyes. A journey through time and space, culminating in one fleeting, miraculous moment of wonder. You live in a world where the sun does not burn you, but warms you from a perfect distance. A world where air nourishes life, where water flows across the surface, and where winds, stars, and sunsets can touch the deepest corners of your heart. The fear of the universe is not meant to shrink you into despair, but to remind you that every moment you are alive is an extraordinary gift. That among billions of possibilities, you appeared, you felt, you loved, and you suffered, like the most delicate miracle the universe has ever performed. When you confront the emptiness of space, remember, it is that very void that gave you the opportunity to exist. It is the harshness and fragility of this reality that renders each moment sacred beyond comparison. You are not merely surviving. You are witnessing the universe. You are feeling the beauty of a single drop of water, a smile, a sunset falling on the sea. You carry within you the capacity for gratitude, for love, and for awe in the face of life. And perhaps That is the most subtle answer the universe has been whispering to us across billions of years. The end is not annihilation, but a reminder to move forward. In the journey of exploring the truths of the universe, we confront bleak and sorrowful visions, the deaths of stars, the dissolution of galaxies, the fading of all light, and ultimately a cosmos reduced to emptiness and darkness. Yet, if we look deeper, beyond fear, perhaps we will realize that an end does not necessarily mean total annihilation. Sometimes, it is a subtle reminder to cherish the journey still unfolding. No light lasts forever. No galaxy is eternal, and no life form is immune to decay. But precisely because everything is finite, each moment of life becomes priceless. The end, in itself, carries a quiet message. That the journey, however brief or imperfect, is still an irreplaceable gift. Just as when a massive star explodes, its violent death is not mere destruction, it is fertile ground for new generations of stars. Heavy elements like iron, carbon, and oxygen, the building blocks of life, were born in the shattered hearts of ancient stars. Without their endings, there would be no Earth. No us. Likewise, in personal life, painful endings can become the starting point for new paths. Loss, heartbreak, letting go, these are not merely voids, but chances for new, deeper, and more resilient forms of being to emerge. The universe teaches not only grandeur and collapse, it whispers of courage, of the ability to keep going even knowing that all roads ultimately lead to an end. Not to fall into despair, but to walk forward with gratitude, with a soul conscious of the fragile beauty in each breath, in each flicker of light. When we gaze upon the cold future of the universe, let us remember that it is precisely because of its finitude that our present becomes sacred. It is not death itself, but the awareness of death, that truly ignites the meaning of life. And so, the end is not destruction. The end is a reminder that we are still alive. That we can still love, still create, still leave behind soft traces of ourselves in this vast and silent universe. The journey of self-awareness amid the infinite. In the cold and endless universe, the strangest phenomenon is not the black holes that devour light, nor the boundless voids where all is silence. The strangest thing is that within this vast meaninglessness, a small creature once asked, "Who am I in this infinite expanse?" Human beings, with all their fragility, dared to look up and gaze at the greatness beyond comprehension, and then turned inward to face themselves. Within every question about the universe, its origins and fate, lies a quiet question about ourselves: what makes us exist? What gives us meaning? The journey into the depths of the cosmos is not just an outward expedition. It is also a path leading into the deepest layers of the mind. When we realize that all galaxies, all radiant light, will one day fade, we are compelled to ask, what, then, remains? And in that moment, we touch the essence of self-awareness. We are not merely accidental organisms existing in a random world. We are beings with the capacity to understand, to love, to create meaning within a universe that offers no guarantees. We do not merely react to the universe, we speak to it in our own way, telling a new story through our existence. When humanity launched the Voyager probes into the dark void, with golden records drifting through frozen galaxies, we were not just sending data about our species. We were offering proof that a consciousness once existed, one that had contemplated itself in the midst of nothingness. Self-awareness amid the infinite is not the pursuit of a single answer. It is the endless reaching for the limits of knowledge, the quiet whisper of small but brave hearts that dare to ask, to love, and to face the vastness and uncertainty of being. In the eternal cold of the universe, the fact that a living creature can know it exists is a miracle beyond calculation. And that journey of self-awareness, even if never complete, is the quiet flame lighting our path through the endless dark, healing the fear of the vast universe. The fear of the universe is not an ordinary fear. It does not arise from imminent danger or visible threats. It is a deep, Primal fear, the moment a person recognizes their absolute smallness before the boundless vastness. A fear that cannot be avoided, for it is part of the awakening of consciousness. When we gaze at the night sky and feel the cold emptiness of space, our first reaction may be unease, or even despair. But if we are patient enough to look deeper, we may discover that within this uncertainty lies a doorway to healing. The universe was not made to comfort us. It does not exist to serve human desires. The universe simply is, vast, cold, and indifferent. And it is precisely within that indifference that we are granted the power to create our own meaning. There is no predetermined purpose from beyond. It is we, through our freedom, who must write the story of existence. To heal the fear of the cosmos is not to deny its vastness, but to face it. To look into our smallness and no longer see it as condemnation, but as a reminder of the miracle unfolding in every living moment. Fragility is not a burden. It is what makes each instance of life sacred. You do not need to grasp the whole universe. You only need to accept that you are a part of it, small, but real. And in doing so, you are free. Free from the pressure to control the uncontrollable. Free to love, to create, to live fully even in the heart of the void. In the great darkness of the cosmos, the faint light of a conscious soul becomes brighter than ever. Every honest emotion, every kind act, every moment we feel the fragile beauty of life, these are small flames defying the cold night. And so, healing the fear of the universe is not about concealing the truth, but opening ourselves to it. So that instead of trembling before infinity, we might smile. A small smile, perhaps, but enough to light a whole world inside our soul. Understanding humanity and life from a cosmic perspective. When we observe human beings from a daily perspective, we easily notice our limitations. Conflicts, wounds, and even selfishness. But when we take a step back, not only in thought but in imagination, and view humanity from a cosmic distance, the picture changes entirely. We, a tiny species on an insignificant planet in a rather unremarkable galaxy, are, as far as we know, the only beings capable of self-awareness, of questioning our own existence, of gazing at the universe with wonder. That very ability elevates human life from the ordinary to something sacred. From millions of light years away, national borders, ethnic divisions, languages, and beliefs all become meaningless. Earth is no longer a map of conflict, but a fragile blue dot floating in darkness. And on that life has arisen, not once, but millions. Billions of times, until one day, humanity emerged and began to ask, why are we here? We are full of contradictions. We know how to love and how to hate. How to build and how to destroy. But that very contradiction makes us more comprehensible, more worthy of empathy, and more lovable than ever. In a universe without good or evil, right or wrong, our ability to choose, to struggle internally, to feel pain over what we cannot change, this is a depth worthy of reverence. When we look at humanity through a cosmic lens, life no longer seems self-evident. It appears fragile, fleeting, yet unimaginably precious. And every individual, no matter how small, is a universe in their own right, rotating around their own axis of meaning. Perhaps only when we stand before the vastness of the stars do we begin to realize that the true miracle is not how vast the universe is, but that there is a soul here capable of trembling in awe before its grandeur, building inner strength in an uncertain world. The world we live in, seen through the light of the cosmos, is a world without absolute anchors. Everything we know, from cosmic structures to physical laws, from civilizations to individuals, is subject to change, decay, and uncertainty. We are not only living in an expanding universe, but also existing amidst forces in constant motion, beyond our control. Uncertainty is not only out there, where galaxies drift toward infinity. It lives in our everyday lives. In relationships that may fall apart, in plans that may go awry, and in the ever-changing nature of ourselves. In such a world, the only thing we can truly master is the ability to turn inward, where inner strength begins. Inner strength does not come from eliminating anxiety. It comes from living with anxiety while remaining calm and grounded. It is not a false sense of stability, but a rooted flexibility. The ability to stand firm in the storm without losing your internal compass. We cannot stop the expansion of the universe, nor prevent the stars from dying. But we can learn to regulate our breath in moments of panic, to stay centered on chaotic days, and to choose kindness when the world feels cold. That is inner strength, a small, resilient light we can nourish ourselves. In a universe where everything passes, the ability to recognize, to accept, and to consciously choose how we live is the deepest form of strength. Inner strength does not need to be loud. It is not about stoic endurance, but about listening inwardly, reconciling with our own contradictions, and slowly building a place of safety within the soul. We may not control the final destiny of the universe, but we can choose how we walk through each day within it. And that choice, more than anything else, determines whether we drift aimlessly, or shine, however small, like a star in a nameless night. Finding meaning in the midst of infinity. In a universe with no fixed purpose, where planets orbit without reason and stars blaze only to burn out, the question of meaning cannot be answered by impose. Definitions. If meaning exists, it does not come from the stars, but from the eyes that gaze upon them. Not from the universe, but from the human mind striving to comprehend it. When humans first realized we were not at the center of the cosmos, it was not a downfall, it was a liberation. From that moment on, we knew we were free to choose how we live. Free to write our own story, not to satisfy some metaphysical hierarchy, but to live fully as ourselves. To live within infinity does not dissolve meaning. On the contrary, that very infinity creates a grand stage on which each fleeting moment becomes radiant. A touch, a smile, an act of forgiveness, a step beyond fear, all the things that seem small become, in the light of the infinite, acts of profound courage. Meaning is not something we find at the end of the road. It is not found in the destination. It is in how we walk. How we stay true in a chaotic world. How we choose love when it would be easier to turn away. How we keep asking why even when we know no answer may come. The universe says nothing to us, but we can speak to it through the life we live. When someone stands before the dark and still chooses to shine, still chooses to love something, however fragile, they are creating meaning. Not to prove anything. Not to be great. Simply to be true. And if anything is eternal in this impermanent realm, it is the human capacity to light one's own life with a question, with an act of kindness, with the choice to be present, even in the heart of uncertainty. Dispelling misconceptions about existence and the psychology of the cosmos. Throughout the history of human thought, we have often made a subtle but profound mistake. Assuming that the universe must have a purpose meant for us. That among the billions of galaxies and countless stars, there is some grand plan awaiting our discovery. But the truth is, the universe offers no clear message to humanity. Existence comes with no instruction manual. And this is precisely what leaves many people disoriented. Because when there is no map, no higher order to guide us, it's easy to feel lost. Some turn to fear, others to denial. But there is another approach, one that is more honest, and more humane. To accept uncertainty as a natural part of conscious life. The human psyche was not designed to exist in a cold, indifferent universe. We crave meaning, connection, and direction. But rather than waiting for the cosmos to provide them, we can learn to generate those things through small actions and conscious choices. Modern psychology has shown that we do not need full control of our environment to be well, we simply need to feel we have a role to play in it. When we retain the ability to respond, to choose, and to create, even within limitations, we preserve our dignity as human beings. Dispelling the illusion of cosmic purpose doesn't mean abandoning our fears or longings. On the contrary, it is a reconciliation between our fragile sense of self and a universe that offers no guarantees. It is a maturation of understanding that not every imperfection is a flaw, and not every ambiguity is a failure. The universe doesn't have to resemble us. But we, through awareness, can learn to live alongside the universe. We can stop demanding meaning from outside and begin to cultivate it from within. We can stop searching for absolute certainty and instead take steady steps inside the unknown. And within that reconciliation, a new kind of wisdom emerges. One that doesn't arise from control, but from listening. One that doesn't require solving every mystery, but accepts that some mysteries exist to slow us down, help us see more clearly, and deepen our gratitude. Inner awakening, when you realize the miracle within. After all we've contemplated, hostile planets, light-devouring black holes, voids stretching hundreds of millions of light-years, perhaps the most important question is no longer, how vast is the universe, but how am I living within it? There is a quiet truth rarely spoken: the most terrifying thing is not the death of stars or the collapse of galaxies, but a person living without realizing the miracle unfolding within themselves. To be so overwhelmed by the enormity outside that we forget we also carry a universe within, filled with emotions, desires, and unnamed potential. You don't need to grasp every law of physics to live meaningfully. You don't need to touch the edges of the cosmos to see beauty. You only need to turn inward and ask, with what heart am I living today? Because it is that self-awareness, that moment of presence in a world that constantly rushes past, that marks the true beginning of a deeper life. Inner awakening doesn't come from lofty doctrines. It begins when you dare to sit quietly with yourself, when you hear your fear but do not obey it. When you sense that life is not just occurring, but inviting you to show up fully. And in that moment, you realize that even in a cold and seemingly indifferent universe, you can still love. You can still choose gentleness, choose courage, choose to continue. You don't need to do anything grand. If you can still find even a small flicker of meaning, in a hug, a pause of silence, a glance of understanding, then you are already doing something no black hole or distant planet ever could. You are alive. And that, in itself, is a miracle.